How can a morning walk change your entire life? You'd never think a simple mistake could spark a chain reaction that leaves a whole family's reputation in ruins. It was one of those mornings when the world pretends to be kind. Sunshine, clean air, and Linda, 48, pushing her granddaughter's stroller through their sleepy cul-de-sac. The kind of day you want to believe will never end right until it does. Linda always prided herself on being the reliable one. She wore the badge of caretaker, martyr, and self-deprecating comedian like a second skin. Her daughter, Chloe, barely 30 and already running on fumes, needed these rare moments of silence. Just 20 minutes, Ma. Please. She hasn't slept all night. Chloe's voice always had that tremor, as if she were apologizing for breathing. The dog, Milo, was the last leftover from the era when Linda believed life could be tamed by routine. Old, shaggy, grumpy, but as loyal as tax season. The three of them, Linda, baby Emma, and Milo, looked almost comically stable. The first injustice struck early like spilled coffee you can't clean up. Linda paused on the sidewalk, fished her phone out to check the recipe for Chloe's allergy-safe muffins, and felt the stroller lurch forward. It's easy to blame gravity until you remember the sidewalk sloped straight toward the main road, which today just happened to play host to a delivery truck with a driver more interested in his breakfast burrito than the lives he was rolling past. Time does a funny thing when you're about to lose everything. It slows down just enough for you to see every stupid decision you ever made. Linda lunged, fingers outstretched, but the stroller slipped from her grasp. She screamed, a sound so primal it cracked windows in her own memory. And then Milo moved. The dog, who rarely did anything quickly except age, bolted after the stroller, teeth bared, eyes wild with something Linda couldn't name, maybe terror, maybe purpose. One leap, one desperate snatch, and Milo's jaws clamped onto the stroller handle, wrenching it sideways as the truck's horn blared. Metal shrieked. Rubber burned. Linda collapsed, knees bruising on the concrete, her mind already rehearsing the headlines. Negligent grandmother loses baby in freak accident. But when she looked up, there was Milo, panting, wild-eyed, still clamped onto the stroller handle. The baby miraculously was crying but alive. The truck screeched to a halt inches away. The street froze. Neighbors emerged from doorways, phones raised, recording. The delivery man stumbled out, face pale as milk. Chloe burst from the house, barefoot and frantic, already sobbing. But even as relief flooded Linda's bones, shame snaked through her. This is all my fault. That voice, old, unwelcome, whispered louder than her daughter's thanks or the neighbor's applause. And somewhere in the tangled leash between guilt and gratitude, Linda realized, nothing in her family would ever be the same. What if a hero's moment is just the start of your public downfall? Stay tuned. Linda is about to discover that every good deed can breed 1,000 new problems. There's a saying in their town, nothing spreads faster than news nobody wants to hear. By noon, Linda's front yard looked like a cross between a flower shop and a crime scene. Balloons, news vans, a city councilman with a folder of community appreciation certificates, and one very suspicious animal control officer. Chloe paced the porch, fielding calls from relatives who'd heard the story secondhand. Yes, Mom saved Emma. No, nobody's suing. Yet. Her tone was brittle, eyes flicking between her mother, Milo, and the army of reporters. Linda, still shaking, tried to focus on the practical. Change Emma's diaper, accept a casserole, hide the fact that her hands trembled so badly she couldn't sign the release form for the TV interview. She hated cameras. She hated the way everyone needed her to be brave and grateful when all she felt was broken. Milo, on the other hand, basked in the attention. Treats, head scratches, the works. For a brief, shining moment, he was the town's mascot, until the whispers began. Someone had filmed the whole thing. In the video, slowed down and replayed on the local news, you could see Linda drop her phone. You could see the stroller roll. You could almost see her hesitation, split second and damning. Online comments poured in like acid rain. Why wasn't she paying attention? That baby could have died. Lucky the dog was there. Where was the mom? Chloe read every word. Linda did too, pretending not to. Each post was a pebble in her shoe, annoying at first, then agony with every step. The delivery driver's company threatened a lawsuit, blaming the reckless behavior of a distracted grandparent. The city demanded a full investigation. Even the neighborhood's Golden Retriever Club weighed in, half joking that Milo deserved a medal and Linda, maybe a reminder course in child safety. It wasn't funny. Not to Linda. Not to Chloe, who started avoiding eye contact, leaving the room when Linda entered, her gratitude calcifying into blame. If you hadn't, she started once but didn't finish. But the worst was still to come. Late at night, after Emma was asleep and the cameras gone, Linda caught Chloe crying in the kitchen, staring at a message from her ex-husband. He says he's filing for full custody. He says we're dangerous. Linda's world already cracked, splintered. She wanted to scream, to beg for forgiveness, to turn back time. Instead, she hugged her daughter and lied, "It'll be okay. I promise." But that was a promise she wasn't sure she could keep. Can the truth survive when everyone wants a different version? Linda's loyalty will be tested, and a secret she's kept for decades threatens to come out. If you'd asked Linda last week, she'd have told you her biggest fear was losing her keys or burning dinner. Now fear wore a new face: lawyers, custody hearings, and the gnawing suspicion that she was becoming the family scapegoat. The custody battle escalated with all the grace of a bar fight. Chloe's ex, Mark, unleashed a legal army fueled by viral outrage and a thirst for payback. His argument was simple: if Linda can't protect Emma, she can't be trusted. Chloe snapped under the pressure. One morning, she cornered Linda in the laundry room, clutching a stack of printed screenshots. "Why didn't you just pay attention? Why did you have to be the hero?" Linda, scrubbing formula stains, could only mutter, "I'm sorry, honey. I froze." Truth was, she hadn't just frozen, she'd remembered. The sidewalk, the truck, the split-second fear. It wasn't the first time she'd felt that helpless. Not even close. Years ago, Linda's own son, Chloe's brother, had nearly died in a pool accident. Linda had looked away for 1 second. The shame had never left, no matter how many therapy bills she paid or jokes she made at her own expense. She never told Chloe. Never wanted her daughter to see her as weak. Now, as the custody battle raged, Linda felt the old secret press against her ribs, begging to be let out. Meanwhile, Milo began to decline. The attention faded, and so did his energy. He limped around the house, sleeping in Emma's room, guarding the baby as if she were the last good thing left. Linda watched him with a growing dread. Nothing in her life stayed gold for long. When the city's social worker arrived, young, eager, and suspiciously polite, she asked, "Is there anything you want to share about the day of the accident?" Linda hesitated. Tell the truth? Lie? She chose the coward's path. No. Just a horrible accident. But secrets rot in silence. Chloe's anger grew. Mark's lawyer circled. The neighborhood, once warm, grew cold. Even the dog seemed to know the house was no longer safe. Linda stared at herself in the bathroom mirror, searching for the woman who used to believe she could fix anything. All she saw was a mother who'd failed twice, once as a parent, once as a grandparent. Her only ally, an aging dog with too much loyalty for his own good. The past clawed at her. If she confessed her old mistake, would it break Chloe or set them free? What happens when your own family turns against you, right as the whole town is watching? Linda's breaking point is here, and the consequences will echo far beyond her doorstep. The legal letters arrived in fat, accusatory envelopes, one for Chloe, one for Linda. Petition for emergency custody. The words bled through the paper, heavy as bricks. Chloe read hers in silence, lips pressed tight. Linda tried to make a joke. At least they didn't send it by carrier pigeon, but it bounced off the walls dead on arrival. Chloe was unraveling. She spent hours pacing, calling lawyers, staring at Emma as if the baby might slip through her fingers at any moment. Her faith in Linda cracked, then shattered. At night, Linda could hear her daughter's sobs behind the locked bedroom door, and guilt chewed at her until morning. The town, once so full of casseroles and concern, now bristled with suspicion. Someone spray-painted "Bad Grandma" on Linda's garbage can. The local Facebook group turned into a lynch mob. Should Linda even be around kids? Some people never learn. The only one who seemed immune to the hysteria was Milo, old, devoted, lying by the baby's crib every night, standing guard while the family self-destructed. Linda knew the court would want to see remorse, so she started going through the motions. Parenting classes, therapy appointments, endless paperwork. But nothing softened Chloe's gaze. The phrase "you almost killed my baby" hovered in every silence, unspoken but sharp as glass. Then, in a moment both mundane and seismic, the truth cracked open. It happened over a burnt pot of oatmeal. Linda, tired and distracted, forgot to turn off the stove. Chloe stormed in, fire extinguisher in hand, eyes blazing. "I can't do this anymore. Every day is another crisis with you." Linda's defenses finally collapsed. "You think I don't now? You think I haven't relived that moment 1,000 times? You think this is the first time I failed someone I love?" Chloe stared, stunned. Linda, shaking, continued, "When you were a kid, when your brother almost drowned, it was me. I looked away for 1 second. I never told you. I thought if I was perfect, if I never let anything else slip, I could erase it. But it doesn't work that way. It never does." For a moment, Chloe was silent. Then, you never told me." Her voice was small, lost. Linda's admission cracked something open, not just in her, but in Chloe too. The accusations, the blame, the unspoken resentments, they all tumbled out, ugly and raw. Chloe cried, Linda cried, even Emma wailed from the next room, as if the whole house was finally allowed to fall apart. But catharsis is not absolution. When the doorbell rang, another reporter, another round of questions. Linda knew their private pain was now public spectacle. Still, for the first time in weeks, mother and daughter faced it together. Later, as the house quieted, Milo dragged his tired body onto Linda's lap. She stroked his fur and whispered, "You're the only one who ever saves us, aren't you?" For once, she allowed herself to be comforted. What if the world only wants villains and heroes, but your family is both at once? The courtroom becomes a battleground, and Linda faces her deepest fear, losing everything or telling the whole truth. The courthouse smelled like lemon disinfectant and fear. Chloe clung to Emma, her hands trembling. Linda trailed behind, clutching Milo's leash. Yes, the judge had allowed him in for emotional support, but really everyone wanted to see the hero dog in the flesh. Mark's lawyers were as slick as oil. Their opening argument was brutal: negligence. Pattern of irresponsibility. The safety of the child must come first. Photos flashed across the screen, Linda in shock on the pavement, the infamous video slowed down, frame by damning frame. Chloe sat stone-faced, but her eyes darted between her mother and her ex-husband. She knew Mark wanted to win, not just custody but a final crushing victory. Linda's own lawyer advised, "Be honest. Don't play the martyr." As if there was any other role left. When Linda took the stand, she felt the weight of every I-town gossips, reporters. Even the bailiff looked sympathetic and suspicious all at once. The prosecutor asked, "Were you distracted that morning?" "Yes," Linda answered, voice steady. "But I'm not here to excuse it. I made a mistake. One I've made before and never forgiven myself for. I've spent my life trying to make up for it, by loving my daughter, by raising my granddaughter, by never letting myself rest. I failed and I own that. But I would give my life for Emma. I nearly did." There was silence thick as honey. Then Chloe stood up. "My mom is not perfect. But she's the reason Emma is alive. Milo saved her, yes, but it's because of my mom that Milo was even there. She's been my rock, even when I blamed her for everything going wrong." For the first time, Linda saw tears in Mark's eyes too. The judge called a recess. In the hallway, Chloe grabbed her mother's hand. "I'm sorry, Mom. I know you never stopped trying." Reporters swarmed, Milo barked, the world spun on. But something had shifted, maybe not forgiveness, but understanding. Linda felt lighter. She had told the truth, and the sky hadn't fallen. Not yet. The verdict is coming. Everything they love hangs in the balance. Don't miss the final twist. What does it take to truly forgive and move on? As the dust settles, the family must decide what they're willing to lose and what's worth fighting for. The judge's decision arrived in a sealed envelope, almost anticlimactic after weeks of drama. Chloe opened it first, scanning the words, breath held. Linda waited, hands clenched tight on Milo's fur. Emma would stay with her mother and grandmother. No restrictions, but the court ordered counseling to address the trauma as if talking about pain could erase it. Relief was a physical thing, melting the knot in Linda's chest. Chloe sobbed, this time with gratitude, not rage. Even Mark, beaten but not cruel, shook Linda's hand before leaving. Take care of her, he said quietly, glancing at Emma. For the first time, Linda believed she could. The town's fever died as quickly as it flared. The Facebook vigilantes found a new target, the news vans vanished, and casseroles returned, now with awkward smiles and I guess we all make mistakes, huh? Milo, aging but triumphant, slept by Emma's crib every night, a hero in retirement. One evening, Linda and Chloe sat together in the kitchen, sharing tea. The old anger between them had faded, replaced by a raw honesty. We can't change the past, Linda said, voice thick. But we can make sure Emma knows she's loved. That's enough. Chloe nodded. It is. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet. No cameras, no crowds, just a family, bruised but unbroken, healing the only way anyone ever does, slowly, together. Linda watched Milo, his nose twitching in his sleep. You saved us, she whispered. All of us. And in that fragile peace, forgiveness, real forgiveness, took root. Not as a grand gesture, but in the small daily acts of staying, of listening, of loving again, no matter what. What if the world moves on but your wounds don't heal with the news cycle? The aftermath brings old ghosts and unexpected tests, and Linda faces the hardest question yet. How do you rebuild when trust is gone? The headlines faded, but the echoes lingered in every corner of the house. Linda returned to routines, but nothing felt quite right. Each morning, as she dressed Emma or cleaned up after Milo, she saw her reflection in window glass, a woman with too much history, trying to pretend nothing had changed. Chloe's wounds were different. She snapped less, but her silences grew longer. Sometimes she'd look at Linda as if searching for the mother she remembered, not the one who'd let go of the stroller that day. Therapy helped, or so the counselor said, but healing never moved in a straight line. One Sunday, the church ladies arrived with a sympathy cake, chocolate with a crack running right through the middle. Linda almost laughed at the irony. We thought you could use some cheering up, they said, side eyes heavy with unspoken judgment. Linda accepted it graciously, cut a slice for Emma, and tossed the rest in the trash as soon as they left. Sweetness didn't fix much. Milo aged fast. The vet's words haunted her. He's a hero, but he's tired. Every limp, every deep sigh from the dog, felt like another countdown. Linda found herself sitting up with him at night, telling him stories she'd never dared to say aloud to anyone. About her fears. About losing her children. About the kind of regret that leaves bite marks. One night, Chloe stumbled into the kitchen to find her mother curled up on the floor, Milo's head in her lap, tears streaking her cheeks. Instead of recoiling, Chloe sat down beside them. I know you blame yourself. But I blame myself too sometimes. For being too harsh. For needing you to be perfect. Linda looked at her daughter, really looked, maybe for the first time in years. We both tried too hard to be strong. Maybe it's time we just let ourselves be. It was a small moment, but a real one. The kind that stitches wounds closed thread by thread. But nothing stays still for long. That week, Mark called with news. He was moving out of state. He wanted Emma to visit during summers on the condition that Chloe and Linda could show they were stable. It felt like a test she wasn't sure they'd pass. Linda's old anxiety surged. Was she a liability? Could she trust herself again around her granddaughter? Would Chloe ever forgive her truly? Or was she destined to live in the shadow of her own mistakes, forever waiting for the next slip? One thing was certain, whatever happened next, Linda wouldn't run from it. Can a family's love survive one final trial? When tragedy knocks again, it's up to Linda and Chloe to prove, maybe to themselves most of all, that hope can grow from the ashes. Change announced itself not with sirens, but with a soft whimper. One morning, Milo couldn't get up. He wagged his tail, tried to rise for Emma's breakfast, but his legs trembled and gave out. Linda called the vet, panic rising like bile. Chloe took Emma to daycare, promising, I'll come back as soon as I can. The house, once chaotic, was suddenly too quiet. At the clinic, the verdict was clear. Milo's heart was failing. He'd given everything, the vet said gently. He's a miracle already. But you have to think of his comfort now. Linda's mind spun. She thought of the accident, of the leash tightening, of Milo's teeth gripping the stroller handle. Without Milo, none of them would be here. Not like this. He saved us, she whispered, stroking his gray muzzle. Chloe arrived, eyes swollen from crying. She dropped to her knees beside Linda. What do we do, Mom? For the first time in months, her voice didn't blame, it pleaded, vulnerable and real. They made the decision together, cradling Milo as the vet gave him peace. Emma toddled in just as Milo's eyes closed for the last time. She didn't understand, but she patted his side and said, "Good doggy," in her tiny, determined voice. Back home, Linda and Chloe dug a small grave in the backyard, under Emma's favorite tree. They buried Milo's collar, too, a symbol of all the times he'd saved them, from trucks, from heartbreak, from themselves. That evening, the house felt emptier, but also lighter. Chloe brewed tea, poured a cup for Linda without being asked. Emma played at their feet, her laughter weaving through the silence. "He'll always be our hero," Chloe said. Linda nodded, tears shining, but her smile real this time. "He taught us what it means to forgive, to fight for each other, to never give up, no matter what." The story the world saw, a viral video, a town's outrage, a family's humiliation, wasn't the real one. The real story was quieter, stitched together by courage and small acts of grace. It was messy, unfinished, but finally, blessedly honest. Outside, a breeze rattled the tree branches. Linda closed her eyes, feeling for the first time in years that maybe, just maybe, she could start over.